The Education Act, Section 7, Stages of the Statutory System of Public Education. The statutory system of public education shall be organized in 3 stages, that is to say, A. Primary education, which shall consist of full-time education generally suitable to the requirements of students who are not over the age of 12 years and, for the purposes of this Act, shall include education at pre-primary level. So that seems to me that the basic or infant school is part of the primary education as defined in the Education Act. B. Secondary education, which shall consist of full-time education generally suitable to the requirements of students who have attained the age of 11 years and are not over the age of 19 years. Okay, so a student who is 11 years old can be accepted in a high school, and they can remain in high school up until they reach 19 years old. Tertiary education, which shall consist of full-time education other than primary and secondary education, part-time education, and leisure time occupation in organized cultural training and recreative areas, available in pursuant of any provision made under this Act for further education for students who have attained the age of 15 years. So you can actually enroll in a tertiary institution, maybe a community college or training school, once you are 15 years old. Right. Section 8, Educational Books. Subsection 1. The Minister of Education may from time to time divide the island into such educational districts as he may think fit, and shall establish for each educational district an education board. I think they call it region, region 1, region 2, region 3, and so on. Subsection 2. The provisions of the second schedule shall have effect as to the constitution of each educational board and otherwise in relation thereto. Subsection 3. Each educational board shall have, in addition to the powers conferred upon the educational boards by this Act, such powers and duties as may be prescribed. So each region or board, they are provided certain powers in law, but they may be offered additional powers. Subsection 4. Proceedings against any person for an offense against sections 21 or 22 or 23 or 24, or for the recovery of any penalties under any of the said sections, may be instituted by the educational board for the area in which the offense is committed. When we reach those sections, we will see what that is about. Subsection 5. In any action or other legal proceedings brought against any member of an educational board in respect of any act done in pursuance or execution or intended execution of this Act, the plaintiff, that's the person bringing the complaint, shall not recover unless he alleges in his pleading and proves at the trial that such act was done either maliciously or without reasonable and probable cause. Okay, so any person, whether student, parent, or whoever, suing the educational board must prove or show that whatever was offense was committed against them was done maliciously or without reasonable cause. All right. Section 9. Management of public educational institutions. Subsection 1. Every public educational institution shall be administered A. by a board of management which shall consist of not less than 3 persons appointed in the prescribed manner, and shall have such powers and duties as may be prescribed. So the board of management of a school, college, must not be less than 3 persons, 3 or more. B. Where the ministers of education so direct, in accordance with the provisions of a scheme, in accordance with the provision of a scheme approved by the minister. Okay. So every public educational institution shall be administered. Okay, so if the board resigns, it seems as if the board resigns, the Minister of Education can manage that school for some time without a board, or have other persons manage the school, well, I guess until a board is reinstated or a new board is appointed. Alright, subsection 2. Every scheme which provides for the management of a public educational institution shall contain provisions for the constitution, powers and duties of a board of management for the educational institution to which the scheme relates, and shall also provide for the keeping and audit of the accounts of such board in a manner satisfactory to the Minister of Education. Subsection 3. The Minister may take such action as he may consider necessary whenever there is serious failure in the successful working of any public educational institution, and the Board of Management appointed under this section have failed within a reasonable time after having been requested by the Minister to do so, to provide a remedy for such failure. Okay. Next is subsection 10. Minister's power to alter endowments. The minister may, for the purpose of rendering the endowment of any endowed educational institution most conducive to the advancement of education, make schemes A. altering and adding to any existing trusts, directions, and provisions which affect such endowments and the education promoted thereby. B. Making new trusts, directions, and provisions in lieu of any existing trusts, directions, and provisions which affect such endowments and the education promoted thereby. C. Altering the constitution, rights, and powers of any governing body of such endowments. D. Removing a governing body of such endowments and establishing a new governing body with such powers as he thinks fit. Okay, so that's that for now. We'll continue with section 11 in the next video.